So back when they first started with the land, they wanted to provide for Columbia College, and the very first of the families that were coming in that were the more prominent. They had to try to figure out a place that was for the prominent, and as well as all the soldiers that were coming in and fighting the war. So this part right over here to my left is more of the military people that were in the area, and very first of in the 1800s. Yeah. And as you can see, it's so old that some of them have been knocked down. Some of them are to the point where it's barely even kept up and available to keep up. Mm-hmm. Some of them have been collapsed in, the old school ones that had the slabs that ended up breaking up over time.
Yeah.
But
now, question: I lived in Savannah before this, so I've been to all the cemeteries where the Union Army, when they came in, kind of roughed things out. Okay. Did you know if anything like that happened here?
Well, yes, ma'am. A lot of times it was right beside the river, mm-hmm. and we had to deal with the British coming directly towards us from that area, mostly with General Sherman, though. Mm-hmm. General Sherman is one of the main people that came in and stormtrooped the area, burning down homes and stuff like that, and we had to fend off against that. Mm-hmm. And in the middle of it, this was actually the area where the hospital was used as camping ground, and everything through here was where the stormtrooping really commenced.
Got it.
It was more directly right off of the river. Got it. And so whenever I ended up first achieving this map, I decided I was going to step in at the old age of 14 years old, trying to roam this place to look and find exactly which one of these plots was which, and figuring out the scale itself. Mm-hmm. And so I took it piece by piece from there. And then I heard an old story of how vehicles were driving through here in certain area, mm-hmm. and would disappear. They'd never be seen again, going into the mud and just completely sink and be disappeared. Mm-hmm. And I thought, how odd is it that there's a Mack truck that was carrying coffins that just happened to show up in the woods with everything overgrown all around it.
How far was
directly
that?
Behind my house.
Your house from here?
I live off of number 1 right beside Augusta Highway right there.
That's near where I live.
So exit 111B.
Mm-hmm.
And my neighborhood is the exit 111B.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that was my first trip in here, and I've kept this ever since. Mm-hmm. and it is part of the origin of why I do what I do.
Yeah. And real quick, when you said you had a family member who was talking to the spirits, what do you mean by that?
Well, okay, so a lot was happening back in the old neighborhood there. My grandmother was experiencing situations of things talking to them, to them down there. So I had a person, I was living 8 doors down. I had a person directly beside me that lived right beside me that ended up dying in a car accident. And he was probably about 4 or 5 years older than me. And down the road by the railroad tracks, my grandmother had a guy that lived right next to her that shot himself in the head in front of his family on his front porch. So whenever she started talking to things, I had known these people through the neighborhood names. You know, and there's a difference between the neighborhood names and all the formal names that people have. Yeah. So she would call them by formal name. She was used to speaking to them in the formal sense, and I ended up just grasping the concept of who she was talking to after 2 of those names, because I knew of those 2 people that had just passed away. And later on, they started narking on me. I couldn't even go through the house without them hating me, telling on me, and just walking through, like looking at my father's old bedroom. He's adopted. And he grew up in the military and doing everything. So I saw his picture in uniform, and I went from bathroom towards his bedroom there and took a look at that photo, and I said, man, he looks pretty good in a uniform. I bet you I'll probably look pretty good in a uniform too one day. And I set the picture down, and I walked back in there, and I got narked on. She said, what was you doing? I said, nothing. Nothing, Grandma, nothing. She said, no, you was meddling. I said, no, I wasn't meddling. No, I wasn't. She said, no, they're telling me right now that you was meddling. I said, well, I ended up taking a look at a photo. That's about it in my dad's old bedroom. She said, yeah, that's meddling. I said, okay. Okay, so from there on out, I was getting the notion that I better watch what I do and watch what I say walking around this house. But sometime after I had found this right here, things started shifting. She had a situation where I got a phone call in the middle of the night from her neighbor on the opposite side of where that guy was back in the day, and they were calling me up to say, you need to come in and get your grandmother. There's something really wrong right now. And all of a sudden, she was swinging a baseball bat at her crawl space at 3 a.m. I ran down there, 8 doors down in the middle of the night to go and see what was happening. And yeah, she was sitting there swinging. Come on, I got you. So I had to try to calm her down to even get words about what was happening. She said that something was trying to mess with her while she was taking a bath. And there was nobody else in the house. It was just her. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go in and check it out. And you go ahead and you swing that bat if there's anybody else that comes out besides me. I'll feel a lot better, right? So I went in there, and I ended up basically going about two to three rooms in to the left of that crawl space. And my grandfather was a very smart man. He built the crawl space. He built this house himself, and he owned the first Coleman camper dealership in South Carolina. And so that's how he was making his money, as a fisherman and camping. And so he wanted to make sure that when you're going through this crawl space that you could see everywhere around. There was a spotlight about every 10 foot and nailed to the outside girder flooring of all of the joists that you're walking through and crawling into. And so about 2.5 rooms in, all of a sudden I'm looking around and I hear this nasty, graspy voice saying, "Get out." Nothing at all. And I was astounded. That was my first time of an encounter like that, and I didn't know what to think. But I knew I had very, very mad grandmother to try to deal with. So I'm shaking it off, and I go back out from the crawl space door, and I'm telling her, "Hey, it's me." And I didn't see anything. Well, I wasn't lying about that. I didn't see anything at all. And so I got her to calm down. and grabbing the baseball bat and going back inside. We were walking towards the front of the house for me to go ahead and take off back to my house. And we get about middle of the house right there in this little hallway that splits off. It's like a circular hallway. And all of a sudden, while I'm telling her, I did not see anything. All of a sudden, all the radios in her house came on at the same time. Now, she was very Christian. She had one of those old school bebop radios in almost every single area of the house. And probably roughly around 4 to 5 rooms or so, there was a radio in each one. And it was all tuned to the same channel. She was a Christian lady with listening to all of the Christian channels. And it all came on at the same time. And I said, oh, well, I don't know what to think about this part. She's like, just don't worry about it, baby. Just going back to the house. I said, okay. She said, I got this. I was like, all right. So, needless to say, that was the first time that I dealt with most of the situation of something trying to scare me.
Yeah.
In that situation, it was a brown pants moment, is what I like to call it. that's the brown pants moment.
How old would you have been there?
I was roughly 14, roughly about that. I was around that area. And so after that, things just proceeded to take form. I was going and exploring the woods around the house and finding other different little locations and stuff. And there's an old farmhouse that was behind mine, and I used to go in there, and I tried to end up getting a torch set up, and I burned myself all across my arm trying to even get a torch going. So that was one of the many explorations right there where you're learning as you go. From 15 on up, I was just taking it for what it was and going on and traveling. Yeah. And so skip forward a little bit. In my 20s, I was working in foundation repair. And they took me to old folks' home to lift up on the foundation of this place. And about a week in on it, I was staying in one of the worst hotels possible. And the boss ended up telling me that I could take his room for the night. He was going to come back into Columbia. He lived right around the corner from here in one of those historic homes. And I was like, yeah, cool, I got you. Yeah, I appreciate that. So we're going to a place called the Alligator Grill, and they had one of these meal deals where if you can kill off like a 32-ounce sirloin, you can have the meal for free. And so that's what I was doing. I was just tearing it up. And I had myself a nice steak and finished it off, and I went back towards the hotel, and I crashed out. After lifting 200 pounds of steel all day and digging 10-foot holes, you get real tired. So that meal was just gone real quick. I made myself a really nice opportunity to put myself to sleep. And I'd say probably about 2-3 hours later or so, maybe about 4 hours after. All of a sudden, I woke up towards the covers of the bed in this hotel, going across from chest level all the way up to my mouth. And once it got to my mouth, it wrapped around. And it was covering my face and constricting my throat. And my eye bulged. It was so tight. And I started trying to throw fists at it. I woke up to this. And I watched this dark shadow that was just as tall as the room itself just disappear right in front of me. It's gone. And I was like, oh no, I done ate too much. I done worked too hard. This is not right. So I thought to myself, I'm going crazy. I'm just going crazy. I'm going to try to put myself back down. So I went to go lay back down. Not even 10 minutes later, as I'm feeling myself about to go back out, all of a sudden the covers are going and doing it again. It got up to here. I threw them off. I said, nope, not happening anymore. I'm out. I'm done. So, yeah, I went and talked with the other guy that was working with me in his room, and I was just trying to let him know, hey man, I'm not going to sleep anytime soon. I don't think that I can deal with this part of it. And so it was kind of a traumatic experience. That was the first very traumatic experience, not just a brown pants moment for me, where I was actually literally having to fight something off. And the next morning, I'm walking up towards the nearest gas station, trying to get myself prepared for the day, and grabbing up some Gatorades and stuff. And I'm trying to talk about it with the guy that I work with. And as we're walking up, about 6 people in on the line, he's hearing what I'm saying while I'm talking about it in the room. And I expressed the number and the motel and all that. And by the time we got up to pay for everything, the cashier looked and said, "Hey, man, I heard what you said. And I want to let you know that somebody died in that room not even about a month ago." I was like, "Really? That's my luck." That's my luck. Go figure, right? Go figure. So all of a sudden, I'm going to work, and I'm kind of stunned the rest of the day. I'm working, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I don't know what happened. I have no idea what to even say about that. So my boss came back from Colombia. Needless to say, he was wanting to go right back to Colombia. He was hoping that we'd be done by then. He's like, "All right, so I'm going to go and grab y'all's stuff in the room, and we're going to head back towards Colombia after you get done with work." I'm like, yeah, you do that. You go and grab my stuff, buddy. And, this was a Lurch character. He was like standing like 6'7", about close to 300 pound, and a buck type of a Marine. And I figured if anybody was going to mess with this thing, it'd be him. So I was like, "Yeah, you go ahead. You go grab my stuff, buddy. You do that." So he goes and he comes back, and he's got this O face. Oh. He's got that oh face. And I'm like, "What you got that O face for, man? What you talking about? What you doing?" And he was like, "Well, be honest with me, man. Be honest. Did you attack somebody last night?"
To it. There's no internet,
I said, "No.
Signal, no, nothing.
Of course not. I worked, and then I got a meal, and I went to sleep. Why would you end up asking me that?" He's like, "Just be real with me. Just tell me. Did you attack somebody? I need to know." I'm like, "No, man. What you talking about? I don't understand." He said, "Well, the cleaning lady was in that room whenever I went to go and grab up your stuff. And in between your mattresses, she found what looked like a weapon laying in between those mattresses. And I was grabbing it up, and I kept it in the trunk with me. I was doing you a solid." I'm like, "Well, I appreciate that. But that's not mine." And so he was like, "Well, at least we're leaving out. We're going to take off now." So
Where was that?
that was Lancaster County. And it was right next to this old folks' home that was there we were working on. And there was a place called the Alligator Grill. That's where we got that meal at. And so, yeah, we ended up getting home and ripping that weapon apart. It was a dried up, bloody rock in the sock. And if you're familiar with what a rock in the sock is, it's the weapon that you don't want to have in the worst case scenario. And so while we were ripping it up, it had black duct tape and electric tape just wrapped up all over it. And whenever we ripped it up, it had like railroad gravel rock all up inside of it. And the sock was one of those like knee-high basketball style socks. So I mean, it was pretty full. It was pretty heavy, and it looked like it did some damage. It did have dried up blood all crusted around it, and that was a freaky moment for me because I knew that I encountered something that was particularly a little bit more malevolent than I had ever experienced before. I knew how to deal with a regular type of environment with that from having to grow up around it, but this was just the next step for me. And I figured that after that happened, I wanted to be somebody that would help in that situation. With anybody else that experienced some kind of a problem, nobody was believing them, nobody was there to help them to try to get through it. I wanted to be the one to try to make sure that somebody had a person on their side.
Yeah, I guess just, well, first, what's your last name?
Fernandez.
Fernandez. With the S or Z?
Z. I guess mine starts back when I was with Max, like maybe 5-6 years ago, and her home was probably the first place I experienced my first like paranormal activity at. Her late husband had killed himself in the backyard. And one weekend, she asked me if I could house sit for her. And I was like, yeah, sure, it's no problem. And I had brought my kids over, and they were sleeping in the living room. And I was in her room, and it was about 3 in the morning. And all of a sudden, his closet door, the doorknob started shaking on its own, started going back and forth for about 10 seconds. And I sat there and watched it, and like literally my heart sank into my stomach. Like it was a whole different type of fear that I'd never felt before. My mind was trying to comprehend what my eyes were seeing.
Yeah.
After that, we started having all kinds of little things happen. And we actually had this before I even became a paranormal investigator. We had a whole nother paranormal team come into the house and investigate. And when they came in, they were turning on all their equipment, and everything that they turned on was going off. And he looked at me and he's like, dude, as many investigations that I've been on, he's like, I've never been into a house where all my equipment just starts going off immediately as soon as I cut it on. He's like, y'all have a lot going on in here. And come to find out, it was her husband's spirit and another spirit that was there haunting the location. But eventually, a few months later, we started really getting into it. We went to Gettysburg for our first like paranormal investigation, because that's where her family was from. And that's where I caught like my first EVPs, like Class A, is what they would call them, where you actually have communication, actually answering your question directly. I have it all on my YouTube channel with SPIR. It's called Ghost Vision Files. We have about like 12 episodes and a bunch of shorts of different evidence that we've collected. We've been all over South Carolina. Me and Stokes met at a haunted bed and breakfast.
The Inn at Meriden.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. They were having a paranormal investigation there, and me and Stokes were the only person awake at the end of the night. Everybody else had went to bed, and I met him out on
the same idea I had. We thought we would be able to do a date night with our wives.
Yeah. Yeah, my girl had brought me there, and she had went to bed early, and me and Stokes were the only ones awake. And I was like, dude, it's like, while everybody's asleep, you want to investigate with me? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So we walked around the property and everything, investigating ourselves and seeing what we could collect and everything, and both having like crazy drama with the girlfriends that brought us there with his wife and my girlfriend have their own little thing going on there. And I'm like, oh, that's weird, man.
Things got catty.
Yeah,
there was a time there where we started having
they both got real mean with us.
Triggers. We got very good triggers to where we were getting a lot of different things happening. There was a ghost cat that happened to show up and was hanging out with us, and that after that they got
my girlfriend was
catty.
allergic to cats, so she was like sneezing and stuff in the middle of the night. I kept smelling like random smells of like perfume where nobody was at, like just a random fragrance would pop up in the hallway.
Smell.
And the owner there,
at Meriden in Florence.
this was like what, 6 years ago?
6 years ago, 7 years ago. Yeah.
And then after that, Stokes ended up looking me up like a few months later and finding me, and then we just came up with a team. At first it was just me and him, and we were doing our own thing, going on investigations. Like we went to Charleston City Jail, to the Navy vessel there, and then we ended up building up a team, and it just kind of skyrocketed from there. We even went to West Virginia's Moundsville and did the prison there.
West Virginia State Penitentiary.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So is it part you guys going to like places where you think, you know, you'll find something, and then part people call you?
A lot of that, we'll do the public investigations, the public tourism area. We'll do all that.
Like the places that are known to be haunted, but we'll also get house calls.
That's the easiest part about recording and putting some episodes together for online. I typically try to keep everything anonymous with our residentials, just to be able to provide a lot of anonymity for our people, and we don't want a whole bunch of
harassed by a bunch of people,
problems like Ed and Lorraine Warren used to have to experience with all of their different cases. It's the same principle. I've taken that and grown with it just to be able to protect them from having to deal with stuff like that.
And so Of all the places you guys have been, like, is Columbia pretty? Because I know everyone thinks of Charleston or like Savannah as places where there's a lot of like known hauntings, but is Columbia like? Is there a big presence here that you guys have found?
It's all around. It's everywhere across South
varies.
Carolina. It started here for me in Columbia just as well as him.
Yeah.
And it worked its way abroad.
For here in
And,
Columbia, like
yeah.
the main places would be like people's homes. Like it's the
Historic.
people, it's the places like you wouldn't think of. Like everybody's thinking like the insane asylum on
Right.
Wall Street, of course. You know, there's been evidence of that over there, or the old prison that used to be downtown, and stuff like that. But really, like in Columbia and general areas, it's really been like the haunted places that we think, like we'll go in, like there was one in Pillion that we did a while back, and going in, you know, doing the investigation, I really thought, oh man, this place doesn't seem too haunted. Like we're just here all night till 4 a.m. recording everything. But it's when we get back and we go back and look at our actual evidence that we actually start seeing and finding the stuff that we didn't see and hear with our own eyes and ears. And
sometimes you never know until you review everything.
until you review
what
everything,
it is.
then you actually used to be like, oh wow, we actually captured that.
Yeah.
And like he caught a whole shadow figure coming out of the kitchen into the whole living room, like directly at the camera, as soon as everybody walked out of the house.
It takes a lot of research and development to be able to figure out how those next steps go to being able to track and capture all of your evidence. It takes a lot to
And he actually
present.
proved a pretty good point. He wanted to do just a kind of an experiment. We sent 2 of our friends in the back room to investigate, and we went outside.
Don't
And
try
his
this at home.
experiment was to scare them, to charge the energy in the house to see if fear would make the entity manifest itself. And we scared the living daylights out of them in the back. And the girl come out cussing us out in the front, like, why can't you do that? But as soon as everyone came outside is when he captured the entity that just came out of the kitchen, just zoomed past, and it was so quick. It's like a split second. Like you literally have to slow the video down to slow motion to see this whole black mass come out of nowhere and just zoom past the camera. Yeah, I was actually pretty epic.
And so how do
Chased
you, once you've done that research, how do you, like, what's the next step?
Well, being able to take care of the client is key.
Yeah, showing
If
them the
they're
evidence.
wanting to be able to figure out what type, like a classification it is, that's first on the list. Then we go through and figure out exactly what they can do and what they can't do to the client.
Yeah, because sometimes they think like, oh, are they going crazy? Is it just them? Is it the house? Is it just pipes?
You got to break everything down that they were talking about.
You got to
piece
pretty
by
much debunk
piece.
everything first.
Yeah.
To make sure that it's actually
We knock
haunted.
it all out.
And
Everything
then
from normal
when there's
to
stuff
paranormal.
that you can't explain and you're capturing things on camera and video audio, you can actually relate to the client like,
and say,
you actually do have
you're
something. You're
not
going
crazy. You do have some things going on. They'll sit back and they'll say, well, I set a cup down and it flew across the room 10 foot right towards my front door. I'm like, well, you're not wrong, because I just captured something that appeared right in that same spot and took off into that same exact area where you're talking about that cup. So being able to collaborate these experiments is key. And figuring out ways to be able to set up triggers. Most of the time, I've found that it's traumatic experiences of a person more than anything else. It creates like a spike of the area where these things were happening, and it's a collection of that energy that builds up more and more and more. So you can, for example, go towards the Bull Street Hospital, and that's why, is because there's so many traumatic experiences in that one area. I mean, even with just having to live with fleas for a couple of decades, that would be horrible, right?
Yeah.
And so you scar yourself on up, scratching every single day for 10, 20 years, just trying to deal with that, let alone anything that would be trying to pick somebody up and chunk it across the room. That's not the fun part. Right next to mother, right there.
Yeah.
Mother superior target.
Yes. So,
You can close it a little tighter.
mine kind of started different than everybody else's. So when I was little, my family would tell me that I would walk up to pictures of like people that had passed away in our family that passed away way before I was born. And I would tell them who they were and give them messages for them. And it kind of kept on my whole childhood. I didn't really know much about it. I probably, as a teenager, kind of shut off. So I just thought, whatever. They kept on about it. My grandmother, God bless her, got really big into Sylvia Browne in like the 90s and the 80s. The 80s and 90s. I guess that's when she was really big.
Call for your free read.
Yeah, 98, 99. I graduated in 98. And I would leave work on Wednesdays for lunch. Her house was right around the corner, and I'd go watch Sylvia Browne with her. She's like, you used to do that. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I pushed it off. And then I woke up one morning, and it was just whoosh. It was all back. And it didn't matter what it was. If you handed me tarot cards, I could read them. If you handed me a crystal ball, I could read it. If it walked in the room and it wasn't there, I saw it, I heard it, and it flushed over me. Well, I went through a really traumatic part of my life for about 20 years for domestic violence. And I left him, and he committed suicide. And we were split up, but we were still married. And I got done with all of that. And a friend of ours, I was with another paranormal team, and I didn't like them. And he said, let me introduce you to Ron. And I said, okay. So I called Ron. He was on vacation. And I said, I'm looking for a paranormal team. I said, I need a paranormal team. And he said, well, I've talked to this person, and they speak very highly of you. Said that he's never been around a medium like you or anything like that. Blah, blah, blah. Came in. I think I was there 3 months, and the next thing I know, it was like, oh, by the way, you're the director of Georgia. Oh, by the way, you're over the psychic department. Oh, by the way, you're the right-hand man. Oh, by the way, you and Emilio are doing this. And oh, by the way, and I was like, oh, okay. So I've kind of been just doing it.
She wanted a job.
Yeah, I've just been doing it my whole life.
Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah. And now I just, it comes and goes. We come out to places like this. Like right now I have.
Yeah, what's the, what are you
Okay,
doing
so
on
I'm
the
using Spirit Talker. This phone has no internet connection. It has nothing. So all it's doing is bringing up phrases and everything. I'm just letting it run in the background and screenshotting whatever it said. So when we pulled in, it gave the last name Johnson or Johnston. And that's what I was doing, was walking around. I found a tombstone with the last name Johnston. I've been using this on my TikToks to show people that some of these apps really do work. This one happens to be a really good one because there's no interference that can come from this one because there's no internet at all that's being through it. So,
and some of the debunking from these apps with the paranormal community, it all coincides because an internet could be present and come through, and they feel like it's kind of like an AI that generates and forms all these words. But whenever you take it offline, is when you can end up debunking that theory and saying this thing doesn't have an internet connection. It's not a service provider anywhere around it. It is just using the app itself.
yeah.
And when like you go and find that tombstone with the name Johnston, do you just kind of spend some time with it, or do you take a picture and like, I'll research this later? Kind of what?
You can say thank you.
Normally I say thank you because most of the time it's with this, when I'm doing the TikToks, it's just normally just to kind of verify that, hey, the app works. I don't get a lot of time when I'm doing TikToks to really stop and communicate. I know since we've been here, it's been really loud. I would say for me, really, really loud. And they've really they've said, we see you. They've like really communicated over here that they're watching me. They've seen me. You've seen us.
This is one of the newer forms of communication that people can use. I typically end up using an old school radio technique for my communication. Being able to channel sweep, it'll end up picking up all the voices coming in between those channel sweeps is really key towards finding the voices on it. And that's one technique that's been used for the past 30, 40 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I typically only do that whenever we're doing more of the residential, just to be able to try to get the easiest information.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're doing that on, say, the ghost hunts, it's a little bit easier for that because it's just a quick pick-me-up. And they do have other different types of devices out there that are more specific towards being able to pick up the algorithms that are very low in the air that you can't hear with your normal hearing. And that's what this is supposed to be able to generate.
Kind of like a boost.
Yeah,
boost
it's a
like
boosted
you have.
signal of communication factor.
Because when I'm somewhere like this, there's too many talking at one time and I can't filter out what's what. So this helps because they can filter themselves through this.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're in like the Belmont, when we were at the Belmont, it was quite easier because there wasn't so many, so I could filter out what was speaking at one time. But when we get into big situations where you have lots that it's trying to communicate all at one time, I can't filter that one voice to go, huh?
Right.
You're saying what? It's just too much. So right now it's overwhelming, but like at the restaurant later, it may be a singular voice I pick up on or a singular somebody I see.
It depends on the source and where you're going. More especially, that is what type of technique. It always depends on where you're going. With a residential, commercial case or an emergency case, there's always a different tool that you want to use. And it's more specific because there's a difference between ghost hunters and paranormal investigators.
Okay, what's the difference?
So, a paranormal investigator is somebody that's been a ghost hunter that had their brown pants moment and decided that they were going to respect things a little bit more. Whenever they're just starting out and they're a ghost hunter, they're looking for that thrill. And then they find it. They find what they were looking for. And some of them say, nope, I'm done. I'm good. I've done everything that I needed to do. And now I can find a different hobby. And that's what it was all about for them, was just a hobby. Whereas somebody else might end up deciding that that brown pants moment gave them a little bit more clarity of their life and where to go from there. The paranormal investigator is somebody that decides that they're wanting to help people, that they're respecting their environment a lot more. A ghost hunter is more towards the point of provoking whenever they're in that paranormal situation. I'm pretty sure you're aware of some of the TV shows where they sit back and they say the worst things possible to it. And that's not what you do as a paranormal investigator. You respect your environment and the things around it. Every bit of the energy around it, no matter whether it was even malevolent or not, you want to be able to give respect so that you might get it back a lot easier. And the paranormal investigator gets that respect a lot quicker than somebody that's a ghost hunter because of that. Because there is no provoking, and somebody didn't get scratched because they were provoking, and situations where you can get that respect from the other side.
Yeah.
And also with being an assessor, helping out with exorcisms, that provoking has to be very specific. It's a different type of tool that you use altogether. You don't want to do anything like the ghost hunter or the paranormal investigator. When you're an assessor for handling demonic cases, it goes way worse.
And those you're working with like churches and religious
Yes, ma'am.
organizations?
Yes, ma'am. We have a church group, and it's more of an independent Catholic Orthodox type style. And we help exorcists to be able to see if they need to perform an exorcism, and that is only if we show up and we find evidence that moves past saying, yes, this person was haunted. Yes, this person is affected. Yes, there's an infestation here. Yes, this person doesn't really seem to be doing anything except for getting channeled right now. They don't even know I'm in the room talking to them right now. Somebody else that's talking. Different language just popped up. There's things that's kind of floating around right now. It's not too fun to be in here. Sir, could you go ahead and show up and do your job now?
Yeah.
That's how it goes. We're always first on the list to get sent in and make sure that they have somebody that says, yes, you get the okay, it's time.
And in cases like that, kind of like what guardrails or like safety and ethics guardrails do you guys have in place?
Well, they have to sign paperwork, first of all, releasing a physical and a mental evaluation
Yeah.
because
You have to make sure that
possession
health-
and mental
everything
health
is taken care of.
mirror each other. They also have to do a lot of it is we pray with them a lot. We give them verses to read. They have to do a lot of self work. Like I
Just to
say a
keep
lot.
them from going in towards that horrible reverted situation.
Yeah.
You know, you have a list of 3 different pages to go through just to be able to figure out whether they're going to deal with this or not. And giving it to somebody that is an exorcist, they have to be prepared for the next step. They won't even do what they need to do until they have all that information provided. They won't even do what they're doing without having a doctor present to make sure that everything with physical is evaluated, and as well as a psychological evaluation. You have to have all of that checklist knocked out just to be able to do that. And in our demonology department, we take it very seriously, and we make sure that all of that checklist is done and everything's signed, sealed, delivered. We even have emergency contacts from family ready to go. At a moment's notice, we take care of everything on that list.
Yeah. How do you deal, like, maybe this is more for like residential investigations, like paranormal investigations. Maybe one person has brought you in and the other person is rolling their eyes at it, right? How do you deal with the aspect of like belief?
I love the skeptics. It's very beautiful to see their first brown pants moment. I thrive on that because I know where I was when I was 20 years old. And as well as 14, I can honestly say I want to be there for them. To be able to have that experience with them is tremendous. Even on just ghost missions, I've been in a haunted hotel. We've been at a bar, and
that
we've
was awesome.
we've witnessed the glass that came off of the counter of the bar and dropped right in front of a lady, and that was her very first experience dealing with that at work and ever before. I said, "Is that your first time?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "You want me to tell you, boss, it wasn't your fault?" She said, "Yeah." And I go and I visit with her the next year after, and that's the first thing she remembered when she saw my face. That was one of the most beautiful moments.
Having a drink, sitting at the bar,
Yeah.
and that glass went. What?
I was giving a toast. We were hosting a Paracon, and we had a very, very successful Paracon at a haunted hotel there. And we just, we wanted to be able to say cheers to the team. I bought them all a round of drinks, and right there on the spot, here we go with the wine glass dropping right there in front of us as we're saying cheers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, like when you're doing like work for a client, right? Like, what do you guys do to make sure, we don't give them this information, empower them with information, but is there anything else you do to make sure they'll be okay, or next steps?
That's
kind of
the
stuff?
next steps, yes ma'am. All right, so we'll go in and we'll do house blessings. We'll make sure that they have all of the kits that we provide, like holy salt, holy oil, holy water. We'll teach them how to bless their own homes with every bit of that knowledge as well. Rosaries, we'll make sure that they have St. Benedict's medals. We'll make sure that everything that they are able to accommodate with is there, just to be on that next step at a moment's notice, because it's not just a wham, bam, done now type of situation. Sometimes it takes a couple times.
Yeah.
You go in and you do it, and then a couple weeks later they're experiencing something again. You come in again and you're taking care of everything for them, and it takes them being able to have that power for themselves more. So you're building the client up to being able to face these things
Teach 'em to
with
fish.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it's all about.
And what kind of frequency are you guys doing this? Like, I guess you started in 2020. Do you know how many clients you guys have taken on since
I
then?
have a list, and well, in between everything with my international cases, that also adds up, and it's close to 1,000.
Yeah.
It's getting there. It's close to 1,000 now. Roughly about 7 years provided with the full team.
Yeah.
But just keep in mind, I've been doing this for about 25 years, even by myself. And that's why I needed a team, was because I ran into a situation where I showed up, and a woman that swore up and down that it was just a regular ghost type of a mission. It was not a ghost mission. Things got to the next level, and she was being channeled, and I had to handle that. And she ended up all of a sudden talking in a different voice, and her face swole up like a jellyfish, like a blowfish would. and it turned colors from a beet red to a blue at some points, and it was actually really scary. Her eyes were rolling in the back of her head, turning dark into a shark eye type of thing. And all of a sudden, the dog was a beautiful albino Malamute, was staring at something that was trying to jump out of the wall directly above her. And I had started cleansing her home, and I just gave her a little bit of holy water to drink. And whenever she did get channeled, she was locked down on the couch and contorted, and her body was all different types of moving around. And then all of a sudden, there was a laughing hysterically. And so by the time I came back from doing the two corners of their home to get to the other two corners of the home, I knew that I had to bum rush to get that done and get back there. And by the time we had gotten all of it finished up, she was literally trying to rip her throat out, claw her throat out, and her husband tried to restrain her, and she tried to chew his arm off. It's a bad, dangerous situation to get into. And that's why I like to tell people, you don't want to do it alone. You want to make sure that you do have people to watch your back and make sure that everybody's okay. At the end of the night, you want to make it home.
Our demonology department, there are very few of us, and the ones that are on that department are trained specifically for that. We go on the rest of what we call the ghost division stuff too, but those that are trained for the demonology department are the only ones that are dispatched if we think that it's going to be a demonology kind of
we
deal.
have one for each, just to be on the safe side.
And I've done one of those cases, and it was interesting. It was interesting. I had my rosary in my pocket.
Her rosary
was in my pocket, and I'd gotten up to walk through the house, and we heard just a ching. Like change falling, and I looked down, and the crucifix from it was laying on the floor. So it had reached. I felt the pull, and then we heard the clash of the rosary hitting the floor.
That's right.
And so, some of the stuff sounds like pretty traumatic. So I am curious what keeps you guys doing
The
this.
demonology part is a calling. That is not something that you just go, oh, I'm going to go do this, because trust me, nobody wants to deal with that fugly stuff on a regular basis. That's just a calling thing. And most people that end up in demonology, we didn't even put ourselves in there. We just kind of got, oh, you got the calling, here you go. Because I had no plans of being put in demonology.
The exorcist gives you a raise and you didn't know it yet.
Yeah,
you didn't check
pretty
your
much.
mail to make sure that the paycheck was there. And he'll tell you the paycheck's in the mail. And
what paycheck?
You're never able to walk up to your mailbox to see it.
Yeah.
And you just have to be there and do it and anything else. But I provide more of the ghost division for the more fun approach towards this, to provide that variation in between the things that people don't want to have to deal with and the things that are actually quite fun to have going on around you. There's a big difference there. There's a major step in between that, and I want people to be able to know that there are things available for that situation where you can overcome that brown pants moment and feel available to accept what's happening in the paranormal situations. And it not just all of a sudden move into a brown pants holy situation there.
And
But
then I guess, lastly, can you walk me through the different classifications, like all the things you guys deal with? Because I'm hearing you use like channeling, demonology, ghosts, and so I guess give me the glossary.
well, there are about 7 different types of entities that works its way from an energy source and more of a residual type of a situation with like stone tape theory science back behind everything there. Basically, the Earth's minerals can provide a natural source of energy that sparks up something that happened years and years and years ago, and it pulls together a lot of the situations that happen, gets built up over that course of time. So it goes from residual haunting is next on the list. And
that's my favorite to explain, because it's like I have to go old school for it. So it's like a DVD or a VCR, and it's rewinding the same spot in the movie
glitching.
over,
Playing
over,
out
and
exactly
over
what
again.
happened.
It's on the
So,
track.
there's
at
no-
Haunted Mansion, Disney World.
Right.
It's on the track.
Right, yeah.
It's
So,
on a track. There's
so say
no
there's
intelligence, no nothing to it. It's just
Yeah.
replay.
say there's a medieval castle and you go into the dungeon where you knew that there was 1,000 people that got locked up down there, and they're screaming for their life every single day until it's the last day. And all of a sudden you're walking in and you're hearing those screams. You're actually witnessing a couple of those chains moving around, and that's about as far as you get. That's more of the residual situation. And the haunting that takes place with the ghost is because that energy gets sparked up towards being able to build itself in the worst case scenario. So if that energy was to spike up towards the area of, say, somebody being scared off of seeing those chains moving around, hearing those screams curdling through those little tunnels, that's when it can pick up. That's when it builds, like we were explaining earlier. So it all starts with things like stone tape theory and works its way up the ladder in between the minerals of the earth and everything that's happened in a history base of the different places. It can take itself towards a ghost, and then after that it can take itself towards more of other types of entities that are around, like the folklore of all the different types of monsters on Earth, you know.
Cryptids.
Yeah, cryptids. You can, and that's our situation with Rob right here. Rob handles the cryptids. He's the cryptid director, and the Lizard Man of South Carolina and
I
the
grew up, we
swamps.
would always go look for the Gray Man.
Right,
Always
the
at
Gray
Polly's
Man over
Island.
there, and Polly's Island. He's a good one. You know, he warns people
Yes.
about all the storms that's happening, and you got a hurricane that's right around the corner right now. So don't you wish Jamaica had one? You know, there's different places out there
Like
that have the
intelligent
spark.
hauntings.
Yeah,
The intelligent hauntings are my favorite to go investigate because they are the ones that can
Get the
honestly
talk.
communicate with you.
right.
They can tell you why they're there, and what they're doing, and
They
sometimes
know you're
it's
there.
and they know you're there. And sometimes it's just as easy as someone's past loved one that's just passing through to check on that person.
Just grandma.
And
Already
somebody's
crossed
scared
over,
to death
coming back
of
to
it,
say,
and
"Hey."
it's just grandma walking through going, hey, I'm okay. I'm glad you're okay. I'm going to leave this perfume or pennies or feathers or whatever it is.
Right.
And they get scared about it, but it's just their way of saying, hey,
I'm good.
And
I'm good.
sometimes they haven't crossed over. Sometimes it's those traumatic deaths that have occurred in a different place that have stopped these people from even being able to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in, and we help to counsel these and let them know exactly what's happened to them and give them those next steps towards crossing over so that the people that live there don't have to deal with it anymore. Or on that type of a situation, whenever you are witnessing that for yourself, sometimes the dead don't want to leave. It's a lot easier to be able to deal with the darker malevolent entities because you can cast them out no problem. But it takes counseling to be able to get the dead to be able to figure out what's next on their steps.
There's no one size fits all.
Right.
Yeah.
And they might be able to accommodate the people that live there a little bit more if they know what's happening a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because their wall might not be the wall that was there before. Their door was somewhere else where a window is. You never know where their front porch was.
Yeah.
It could be your kitchen.
Yeah.
You never know.
and if they tended to be a pain in the butt in real life,
Chances are
they're going to be that way in death.
Assholes are always going to be assholes.
Exactly. Basically, yeah. I was
said
trying to
it.
be a little nicer about
You
it, but
said
yeah,
it.
that's exactly right.
That's what we deal with. Yeah.
What are some things that are like either cliches or just stereotypes or assumptions that you hear over and over again that are like your
That
top?
every medical hospital is haunted. And that buildings can be exorcised.
Yeah.
Let's see. Come on, there's some. Come on, there's some good ones out there. What's else that we hear that are cliches?
Yeah. There's a cliche that everybody that dies is going to be going up, or everybody that dies is going to be a ghost.
Yeah.
Those are regular cliches that are in the field.
But all ghosts are just all demonic. It's just
Yeah,
all
that's
of them
the
are
other
just
one.
bad.
That's
All of
one of
them
the
are
oldest
demons.
right there.
Yeah.
Everybody
That's
had
not
to
the
experience
case either.
something, was dealing with a demon.
Yes.
That has grown to exponential proportions where you know for a fact you're not dealing with anything except for a Casper. Casper doesn't pick you up and throw you across the room. He just knows that you're there. You know that they're there. That's about it.
Well, no, I'm not going to say that one, but my other one would have been that all priests are pedophiles. And that's not true either,
No.
because I mean we know some
go
and
there.
they're not.
Yeah. I'd say that there are independent Catholic divisions of people that try to do good. It takes a huge amount of faith to be able to get through being affected in these situations. A lot of times people think that whenever you're dealing with something like that, that somebody steps in and controls that situation a lot easier. It's a lot tougher. It's a lot tougher than that. You, like I said before, you have to empower the people that's there just as much as you walking in to try to accommodate for them and casting out stuff.
Does that mean when something is like shit is really hitting the fan, sometimes you got to keep a
You have to
like,
keep a level head. Yeah.
yes, because you don't want to freak out the people
you
you're
can't-
with.
You don't. You're feeding these things at that point.
You have
The
fear
more
yourself.
fear they have coming to them, the bigger they get, the harder they are to end up getting on. You know, it's tough.
When you see like on some of these shows where they're like, "Oh, touch me, touch me, touch me," and then they go running screaming like little babies.
Touch me! Oh, it touched me! Yeah,
that is feeding
hilarious.
what they're trying to find.
They're
playing it up
wanting to
for
get
the
it
camera.
sparked.
Yeah.
And they're playing it up, and
Right.
that's not serving a purpose, and it's actually going to leave the homeowner in worse shape
They
than
deal
when
with
you
a
got
lot
there.
After all that, they deal with a lot. Yeah.
Gotta have a cleanup crew for the first cleanup crew.
Exactly.
That's where we come in.
And you would be amazed how many calls we get that. That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, hey, we just had some ghost hunters come through here, and we're experiencing stuff they said that they couldn't handle. There's a lot of that.
And a lot of it's stupid stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it actually can be explained by science and be explained away.
Yeah. Question, you said you've done some international stuff. Where have you been?
Well, a lot of the situations I'm having to deal with at the time are all virtual. I'll take client calls with a Zoom or Teams, or we had Skype back in the day, helping out with the Warren Foundation. They'll get cases from all over the world. As you know, Ed and Lorraine Warren was
It's
traveling.
like the only
all
scary
over
movie
the
I've
place.
ever seen. Is
Everybody
The
knows The
Conjuring.
Conjuring,
Really?
or Annabelle, or The Nun. That's a whole world. Now, I will explain that those are just movies based on some true events, but they write in a lot of stuff that is not real. The
This
real
last
stories,
one was,
you know. So basically, we're picking up for the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'm helping him out to have a international team. We've got people all across, and they help out tremendously.
600 years. I've got one that said I was.
Basically, you got people that call up that send in an application form for the clients that's saying this is happening, that's happening, these are the addresses, everything like that. You go from being a researcher all the way through being able to do an investigation and making sure that everything's okay for a cleanup crew at the end of it. Yeah, you do that, and it's more of a resource power than anything else. If you're virtual and you're not doing your traveling, it's more to being able to take on everything all at one shot. But I'm not to the point where I have an excessive amount of money to just do all that traveling all over the place all the time. I have a 9-to-5, and I have a child to take care of.
Yeah.
And it's a lot tougher than that whenever it comes to dealing with these things. You got to make a balance happen in your life first.
Yeah, most
And
of us have.
if you don't have a balance in your life, you're not going to be able to do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So most of it has been a lot of virtual cases.
Gotta make sure you're showing up strong.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And like just cases in Indonesia, Europe, Russia. We just dealt with one in Germany.
I tell you, in Mexico and
Mexico's
South
big.
America right
Mexico's
now is
really
like
big.
really blown up.
Haiti. There was a lot in Haiti that was happening
right now.
There was a couple in South Africa. basically all over the world.
Yeah.
Internationally, we've had to take on cases to help people out,
Yeah.
and there's roughly around 100 to so people are that are in that international group, and it's just solely based all around the world to helping out the clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would be a good movie or TV show, whatever, that got it right, and one that annoyingly got it right?
Oh Lord!
I will say
Oh,
I
gosh.
have been to the Conjuring house.
Mm-hmm.
I have literally had to deal with the haunting there. Yes, things can affect you. Yes, basically, the things that they got right was that people can get affected there. It was a horrible war that happened in that area, and they had to deal with the turn of the U.S. being built, and so yeah, that part is very real.
Yeah.
Whenever you go in there, you're witnessing the place where Miss Perrin got picked up in the chair and thrown into the fireplace. And while I was in that area, I had the whole house make like loud booms, and it was so much that it shook the entire home. So that part is correct, but the part I would say the worst part of that movie,
Oh,
that's
it's when
not
they
anything that they did
when
in
they
the
show
story
her
itself.
possessed by.
They weren't chasing her in the
Bathsheba.
crawl space like that.
They weren't doing
They
all
weren't
that.
doing that.
In fact,
The library's very real. I did have
the library is very
a
real.
cell phone got picked up, thrown about 10 foot across the room where the globe is, all the way towards the entrance door.
I actually did Watchtower for him while he was
Yeah,
there.
She saw
Before
a
he
figure.
came in, even got into the house, I was telling him about a green piece of furniture that was in the house.
She was.
And then
That was the couch.
one of the archways that was there, I watched the spirit form.
Yeah, I set up a trigger on the doorknob.
And I watched it.
And whenever something came by it with the motion detection, it lit up. And she was telling me about that while I was actually in
But
the
I
area.
saw the actual figure and
Yeah.
the trigger.
Uh-huh.
And I think the Bathsheba thing is pushing it.
Her grave is actually about a block away. And
And
she
the other
wasn't
thing-
really on that property as much as the property that coincided with it on the neighbors' lands. And it was just a myth. The Bathsheba myth states that she messed with a little baby and did a sacrifice there.
And the fact that the Warrens actually solved that case, they actually got kicked out before
It
got solved.
Ed tried to let the guy know what was happening to his wife when she was being channeled, and he punched him in the face. Her husband literally punched him in the face
And threw them out.
kicked them out. That part was real in the movie. It shows that they didn't really get the opportunity to really do as much as they wanted to with everything.
Not as much
because
as
of
the movie showed, because they honestly got thrown out.
They did.
In the last movie they just put out, I mean, as good as it was, and I went to the theater
The
the
Smurl
day it opened,
family.
it was great,
Yeah,
but it was
The guy
so
it's way different.
beyond.
Dramatized.
It's way different. In the movie, Tony S.P.I.R is present, and Tony S.P.I.R wasn't in that case at all.
No.
And that was actually one of the first cases that Ed and Lorraine's grandson was letting them know to come into. And Miss Judy was married to somebody else at the time. That's the grandson's dad. And Tony was not married to her yet or anywhere in the picture.
Yeah.
So he stepped in later on. That part, that movie did not do well with me because it didn't stay directly
Yeah.
towards the facts.
Yeah.
But they tried to, I think that it was more to try to keep the grandson away from being a part of it.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of Hollywood involved. They don't want to have everybody's hands in the pit.
Or pay for someone else's life, right?
There you go. There
Oh,
you go.
I know another good miss one that's going on right now. So everybody knows that over the summer they took Annabelle out
Yes.
and toured her.
Yeah.
Annabelle.
And
then some
everybody got
influencer
really
bought it.
upset and, oh, they burned down a mansion and, oh, she did this. And the doll didn't do any of that. And everybody was like, oh, they always said, don't move her, don't whatever. Ed and Lorraine never said not to move the doll. They said use caution when moving the doll, because they moved just about everything they had in their occult museum to their lectures to teach. They have her out there because most of us know they just sold the house. They are trying to come up with the money to move all of the occult museum stuff to an actual museum and out of the house.
It's hard to pay for a house after the people have already passed away.
Yeah.
You know,
So
and
they
nobody has
sold the house.
a job to keep it going.
Yeah.
So that performance is horrible in itself to have to do. To be able to create those lectures, even it's tough because the people that created those lectures from the beginning are already gone. And those people that started those lectures were they were the best people to be able to work with, and it's tough to replicate that.
They taught they opened a line for paranormal investigators
They were
that was
pioneers.
so wide, and they are so respected by most of us. And
I'll tell you who gets stuff right that's not really even known. Dan Aykroyd's family was actually very well into mediumship, spiritualism, and they were dealing with spiritualism on a regular at a farmhouse in Canada, and that was at the turn of the 19th century. So,
Wow.
So this bell right here that you see, they had a bell in the room, and they would sit back and try to have a seance with everybody on the table, and they would ask it to ring, and they would tell it, hey, if you're here, come on, hit the bell. So they would be able to hear that bell going off and have communication factor. That's one of the very first communication factors for people in the pioneering of communication itself with spiritualism, and that was Dan Aykroyd's family.
Yeah.
At the turn of the 19th
the
century.
name Bernadette.
Okay.
I don't remember where.
Can we see a little bit about what you guys do now?
Sure,
Where-
sure.
where
So
should
we
we
can
drive?
drive over here.
Okay.
We'll take you towards these
I was gonna
graves.
say we'll follow you, but there's really
Yeah. No, graves.
Ron, you got the council?
I think I only got declared it. I think somebody already got the town hall a little while back. But yeah. So being able to go into this area over here, you will see unmarked soldiers' graves where soldiers ended up passing away. They didn't know whose names to put down, but it's a very nice memorial, and we might be able to pull some names for being able to go and do what we're doing right now. And that's what we'll be on next.
That was, I interviewed a guy who made ghost tours, kind of for like more history part of things. He did a self-proclaimed history lesson. He talked about coming over and finding a guy who died in the 16th century. He already got out, and he realized he had no family or friends, and so he asked to go back in. And I guess back in the 1930s, they would let you back into jail if you wanted to go back.
Yeah.
Don't forget your map there.
All right.